Let me give you an overview of how to use Nettuts plus Builder version 2. Here is the download, so I will unzip that, and we get a simple app here. Now once I load it, you'll see that we now have this new icon in the menu bar. If I click it, we have a handful of options here. We can take a look at our servers, we can specify some preferences, but first let's just get a basic overview of how it works. So I'm going to deselect Upload to FTP Server. Next, we're going to take a look at a small project here, and I'll bring that up. Here's our project, and it's a simple CSS3 slider. So if you'd like to see a demo of that, let's come over, and you can see it transitions using CSS3 transitions. All of these links are clickable, so that's pretty neat. Now, let's take a look at the code base. First, I see that we're bringing in two style sheets. One is called Style, the other one is called Slider. Now, this is a helpful way to create your designs by splitting them up. You can more easily target exactly what you need in the future. But the problem is, this isn't necessarily a good practice for production because that's adding an additional HTTP request. And that's why we always recommend that you combine your style sheets and then you compress them. That way your designs will load as quickly as possible in the browser. And the same is going to be true for your JavaScript. So below here, you can see that we are bringing in jQuery and we're also bringing in a script.js file. Now in this case, it's not necessary. I just have a simple alert because this project does not use JavaScript, but it'll give you a basic idea of how it works. Now, let's see what happens if we run this through Builder, and we only have to do one thing. We need to tell Builder where our style sheets and where our JavaScript files are. So I'm going to take this and simply wrap it within a CSS comment. And many people will do this regardless. It's a nice way to specify this is where my style sheets are, this is where my JavaScript. Notice that it takes a syntax of a HTML comment, CSS, and then we specify the end. And then we'll do the same thing for our JavaScripts, like so. Okay, and with that, let's see what happens when we run this through Builder. Here's my CSS project, and I'm simply going to drag it onto Builder. And you'll see that by default, this panel will display. You can deselect that though if you'd rather it run automatically. So if I deselect that, do it one more time, within just a couple seconds, you'll see that it has created a new release folder. Let's take a look at this. And this is the folder that you will upload to your server. So if we close this out and open it up, the first thing you'll see is that all of your HTML has been compressed. Next, you'll see that while in development, we had a sloppy structure for our demo. We haven't created CSS folders, JavaScript folders. Builder will do that for you if you have not done so. So let's take a look at CSS. And now we can see there's a style.min.css file, and that's done a couple of things. First, it has taken all of the style sheets that are between these comments and concatenated them and compressed them. So if there is a style sheet that you do not want to be included in this, you simply need to take that outside of the CSS file and then it will be ignored and treated like it normally is. Let's bring that back in though, and if I come back, it's done another thing here. It's run your CSS through the prefixer.com service. And what that does is, if we take a look at our original style sheet, there's lots of styling in here that's specifically for WebKit or Chrome or Safari. WebKit animation play state. Well, Builder will go ahead and add on the necessary prefixes so that you can code using one browser, and then when you deploy it, you can rest assured that all of the browsers will be represented. If we come back here, I want you to take a look. If I search for Moz, you can see that it has also added on Mozilla's form, a Microsoft version for animation. Prefixer knows which ones to include and which ones are supported by the various browsers. And then it will also include the official form. Next, if we take a look at our JavaScript, you're going to see two things here as well. First, as with your style sheets, it has concatenated all of the files that were within the JS comments. Now, if one of the files is an external file, like jQuery in this case, it knows to download that file and bring it in. Now, it's possible, though, that you would prefer that file to remain on a CDN. And again, in those cases, if you have any assets that you do not want to be concatenated or compressed, you simply take that out and bring it below or place it above. Only the scripts within the comments will be concatenated. And now let's take a look at the server-side aspect here. I'm going to bring this back up and let's delete that release folder. Next, I'm going to go to Preferences, and now we're going to select Upload to FTP Servers. Now in this case, we don't yet have a server, so I'm going to add one. right here. This is very simple, but it will do the job. We'll create a new one, and this is where I'm going to upload to my demos section of my website. So we will call it demos, and I can access that at ftp.jeffrey-way.com. I'll go into my domains, and I want my demo.jeffrey-way.com URL. Next, now that I'm in there, I can bring in any specific directories. So in this case, I'm going to upload to a folder. Maybe we'll call it my CSS slider, or you can specify an existing directory. Next, the last step is to provide my username and password. Let's test the connection, and all three are green, so we're good to go. So now, whenever we drag a folder onto Builder, in addition to concatenating and compressing and running the CSS through Prefixer, it will also upload to this new folder called My CSS Slider on my domain. Let's close this out and try it again. Give that just 2 or 3 seconds. And now that's finished, let's test to see if it worked. I will now browse to that folder, and I called it demo.jeffrey-way.com, and we called it My CSS Slider. And there we are, our script is executed, it simply did an alert, but now it's working great. So let's view the source and make sure that everything went as expected. View source, yes, all of the HTML has been compressed. Our style sheets have been updated, so now we're linking to this minified version, excellent. And if we come down to the bottom, you'll see that because we pulled jQuery out of our JS comment, that was left as is, but then we minified anything else. And in this case, we simply had an alert. So there you have it, that's Builder. It will compress, concatenate, run your style sheets through a prefixer, and upload them to your server. So it's the perfect tool for simple demos and small projects that you're working on.